All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's a continuation on Cathie Wood. So I did a live stream on Cathie Wood the other day, going over her TelDoc disaster, and of course I did one also. I think I did a few months ago. The other earnings disaster. I can't recall if I did. I know I did a webinar for my subscribers to show some learning points, because I had people ask me about TelDoc last year, and I told them it's garbage. And I wanted to show them that this company is more smoke and mirrors than anything else. And we're seeing that more and more. And so you'll notice the title of this stream. The title is CNBC Helped Cathie Wood Con Investors. And I've emphasized this over and over again. Folks, you got to understand something. The media, the financial media, and it's not just the financial media. Understand all this media is connected, right? CNBC is with NBC, MSNBC. So you're going to see these financial con artists on different TV shows and other networks. But it starts off in the financial media. And they make them into superheroes. The media gives people like Cathie Wood a life. People piled into her disaster fund because CNBC pumped her. You've got to understand that. The financial media is the biggest problem. I've been talking about that for many years. People who follow me know that. I've exposed all the tactics, and that's why I've exposed all the track records of the media's superstars like Jim Rogers, Peter Schiff, Harry Dent, Jim Cramer, Mark Faber, you name it. They're all broken clock disasters. Cathie Wood is the latest in that. You'll notice that Cathie Wood's she's not getting grilled. She's not getting grilled. Why is that? Eventually, she will be grilled after everybody throws in the towel. But they're not throwing in the towel yet. You see? So they're actually, the suckers think, well, they're giving her the tough questions. No, they're not. They're giving her an opportunity to spew her con artist pitches, to wiggle her way out of her delusion. So this was I think early in the year, like January, February of this year. Let's see. I can't tell. I think it was February. But let's listen to what
happening in the markets right now and what's happening in the funds. Because, Cathie, it's been said that you are in the toughest battle of your career right now. Not only are you fighting against the market momentum, you're also trying to hold huge losses and outflows. So I want you to address this for us. What is the message to investors here? Do you think that the street is just getting you wrong, or is it time to concede that mistakes have been made?
So let's put in perspective. You mentioned 60%, which is absolutely right. We have been in a terrible bear market for innovation. Hard to understand, but terrible bear market for innovation. However, if you look from the bottom of the coronavirus to that peak in February of 21, we were up 358%. Why? Because innovation solves problems.
Hear that? So she doesn't like that. She wants to, like all con artists, she dances around the question, right? She takes his question. Is it time for you to admit that you've been wrong, or is the street wrong? So here's the right. She takes it and pushes his question aside and gives you her little narrative. And her narrative, of course, is cherry picking. Think about it for a second. March 2020, March 24th or so, 2020, all the way to the peak. She says, oh, our fund is up 350%, something like that, right? Why? Why did she say it was? Because innovation solves problems. And she claims her fund is all about innovation. Well, think about that for a second. Before we even look at her performance, I've mentioned this many times before. Here you got me. Sure, I'm a world-class analyst, but I'm not running a fund. I'm not paying a lot of money for research resources. I don't have individuals covering every single sector of my funds, of my ETFs, right? She's got dedicated, supposedly, analysts that cover biotech, genomics, so on and so forth. How is it a guy, me, can come out in March of 2020 and specifically state, and I have this, it's on one of the webinars, it's a fact, and come out and say, okay, number one, I believe a vaccine is going to be created before the end of this year, November, December. Nobody thought that. Everyone was saying 2-3 years. I was exactly right. Number two, I said, you obviously want to be in drug stocks, but I said in terms of the biotechs, the small biotechs, there's one to take a chance on. And I said specifically, I took a look at it for 5 or 10 minutes. I looked at the company for 5 to 10 minutes, and I think the only one that you should be buying, the small cap biotech, the newer biotechs, because there's a lot of them out there, right? They were supposed to be going after a vaccine. I said was Moderna. I didn't name 5 of them, small cap. I named one, Moderna. The question is this: how is it one guy, me, who covers everything, right, can nail it like that? Moderna was the hero, was the winner. How? How is that possible? And Cathie Wood's innovation, she's all about innovation, right? Think about that. She's all about innovation. That completely invalidated her alone, that alone. Instead, she buys these garbage, ginkgo bio, garbage trash, CRISPR. Think about that. You understand what I'm saying, folks? Put this into perspective here. She should have identified Moderna. That's like should have been an easy call for her, right? You understand what I'm saying, folks? You don't hear any criticism about that, do you? How come nobody from CNBC says, wait a second, Cathie, you didn't invest in Moderna. You missed one of the biggest biotech blowouts in history. And she's all about innovation, right? No one mentions that, do they? Now, let's go to the chart here, because she talks about her fund, and this is the ARC Innovation ETF. She talks about her fund from the bottom of the pandemic all the way up to the top was about 350%. And she said, why? Because innovation solves problems. In other words, she's saying because the stocks that she held in her fund solved the problems of the pandemic, of the coronavirus pandemic. Where was Moderna? Moderna, no one can say that Moderna, if you're talking about problems, wasn't one of the very top 2 or 3, whether you're looking at it from a medical standpoint or business standpoint. Moderna was at the top 2 or 3. You understand what I'm saying? In fact, you could argue it was at the top for many reasons, even beyond Pfizer, because Pfizer didn't even actually innovate their vaccine. BioNTech, actually, from Germany, they're the ones that did it. Anyway, so think about that for a second. So first of all, that premise is bullshit. She expects us to believe that Zoom and Roku and Teldoc, the stay-at-home stocks, DocuSign, they solved the problems. They didn't solve jack shit. Zoom's not innovative. Someone tell me how Zoom is innovative. It's not. Somebody tell me how DocuSign is innovative. It's not. If you think that they're innovative, you don't know the market. There's plenty of competition out there. It's been around a long time. So let's take a look at this chart. Okay, great. Cathie, none of this matters. You lost everything that you gained. in the pandemic. Now let's take a look at the NASDAQ, which is the closest comparable index. Take a look at, we'll take a look at a 5-year. So this is basically since inception. Okay. And you can see when her fund began, looks like late 2014, the performance is below the NASDAQ. And keep in mind, of course, the NASDAQ is the appropriate of the 3 major market indexes to use as a benchmark. You all know that, right? The NASDAQ returned almost 160%. Her fund is 126, and it's going lower. It hasn't made its bottoms yet. It hadn't made its lows yet. Well, I don't know, 35. It's 45 now. I think it's probably going to go lower, but we'll see. That depends upon what she ends up selling, and you know that's a harder call to make because it just depends upon her decisions. But okay, that's 5 years. This is the best case scenario for her, right? She's underperformed the NASDAQ. 2 years. Now think about this for a second. When did most people get into her fund? When? Take a guess. Somebody tell me. When do you think most people got into her fund? Anyone? Just approximately. I would say towards the second half of 2020. Wouldn't you? Right? And towards the end of 2020. I would say, is that not reasonable? And I would say most people got in the 3 months prior to the end of 2020 and the 3 months into 2021. Because remember what was going on. We were just getting out of the lockdown in June and July. The market kept going up, right? So most people were getting in at the top. You all know this, right? This is what usually happens. Same thing happened with gold and silver back in 2011. Everybody got in at the top. And the media was pumping her. You see? People lost their ass. But even if they didn't, even if they got in 2 years ago, right? Even if they got in 2 years ago, which would have been, well, let's see. Well, let's put it here. I mean, just when do you want the time? When would you like the time scale? If it's 2 years ago, which would have been, let me see. I think that most people got in actually by the end of 2021, because that's when you're getting a lot of the promotion of, oh, here's the funds that did the best this year, right? So you get people chasing performance. You see, most people got in, I would say, the first several months of 2021. Although I think, I'm sure several got in towards the end of 2020. But just a 2-year return, you can see 2 years to date. Today is January 29, 2022. You can see her fund is down 42.5% over that period versus the NASDAQ up 12%. You see, she wants to cherry pick times that are convenient for her. She doesn't even tell you to date. She just picks 2 points, right? The 2 best points. And of course, the journalist doesn't say anything. You see? He gives her the chance to bullshit. This is dishonest. The media is a scam. Folks, I've been proving this. People that know me, they know. Why do you think I go after the media? I go after all elements of the media, and I talk about who controls the media and what's going on. You understand how it's all connected, okay? I talk about this shit for good reason, and nobody in the world can refute and win and be correct my conclusions on these things. It's a fact. And if you think that you can, I got the evidence. We can go to court, put the money behind it. Don't waste my fucking time. and who runs up Wall Street and the media and what's going on. I've been documenting this shit for 15 years. Okay? If you think that you're right or you think that I'm wrong, put your money where your mouth is or shut your fat mouth. I'm willing to back my shit with money. Real money. So shut your mouth unless you are as well. Otherwise, you're just a flapping mouth. A fucking moron. Put your money where your mouth is or shut your mouth. It's that simple. Right? It's easy to talk shit, but let's see if you're going to back it with money. Otherwise, you're just talking shit. Of course, here's when Cathie, in July of 2020, when oil was about $40, it was recovering. She said it's going to $12. It's going to collapse. And it's going to collapse because of demand destruction. That's what she said. Demand destruction. Cathie, do you understand what demand destruction even means, you idiot? She's an idiot. Demand destruction is not going to cause oil to collapse to $12. It doesn't work that way. Demand destruction causes something to fall, but not to $12. And if oil's at $12, give it to me. I'll buy it all up because we're always going to need oil. This is the same lady, of course, who was talking about no inflation through, March of this year. She was still talking about deflation. I mean, look, everyone can be wrong. Okay, no one's perfect. No one gets everything right. But when you're persistently making weird claims that get weirder and weirder by the day as the data comes in more and more and proves these things, at some point you have to believe that Cathie Wood is mentally ill or she's an absolute fraud. I believe it could be both. I don't know. Right? At some point, you got to say, wait a second, you're talking about deflation? It's March of 2020? I mean, what? And the whole premise is bullshit. Well, technology, the innovation is going to cause deflation because that's bullshit. It doesn't work that way, folks. It doesn't ever work that way. It never works that way. You know why? Because there's no type of innovation that comes out and just wipes out jobs overnight. It's gradual. And there's a transition that happens. Now, Cathie, you've never worked on that side of innovation. You don't know what you're talking. You've got a degree in some bullshit. I've got advanced degrees in the sciences, and I've worked in venture capital. I've dealt with all this stuff. You don't know what you're talking about. No one challenges her. The media pretends, oh, well, Cathie, is Wall Street wrong or this? They give her an opportunity to keep misleading people. The media is a criminal organization. And by the way, all the YouTube fake investment gurus, they follow the media. YouTube is 1 billion times worse for your financial future than the financial media. And the financial media is a complete disaster, a criminal organization. YouTube is also a criminal organization. Tell me when Jim Cramer has faced Cathie Wood. He talks shit when she's not around, knowing that she has defenders on CNBC. He's talking shit about her while allowing other people on CNBC to give her a platform. And he's doing this because that's how the media covers all grounds. You see, they cover all sentiments. He's doing this to get the Cathie Wood haters on his side. It's psychology. If Jim Cramer was truly, honestly attacking Cathie Wood or criticizing her like she should be, he should have her on his show and slam the hell out of her. And they should never have her again on CNBC. So please don't get fooled by the criminal media's little tactics, because that's what it is. Jim Cramer is using this as a way to whitewash his own disasters. You see, pushing her down, which is valid, is a way for him to push himself up, because he's in the same boat, if not worse than Cathie Wood, probably even worse than Cathie Wood. Okay, See, so they get people like you to think, well, yeah, Jim Cramer's going after. Yeah, I'm going to watch CNBC now. You see? You're being fooled, folks. Just like the media that banned me from warning everyone about the financial crisis. Everybody could have shorted the subprimes and made a shitload of money if they just known about me, read my book. I got banned. And they promoted a bunch of broken clock con artist idiots that are in the tribe instead to steer people into the gutter. And many of those people sold at the bottom and never got back into the stock market. If you listen to Peter Schiff, who was promoted as an expert day after day all over the place for years, scaring people, and you believed his shit, you probably sold at the bottom of the stock market and never bought again. This is what the media does, folks. I'm telling you. I know it. I lived it. They all know me. Jim Cramer knows me. All the Nigerians, they all know me. They're not going to admit it. They're all full of shit. They're all scammers. So understand how the media works. The media was pumping up broken clock con artists, scaring people to buy, telling people to buy gold at the top, and allowing people to tell people, their audience, that the dollar's going to zero. We're going to have hyperinflation. Get out of the stock market, buy gold. You all remember that? I sure as hell do. I've documented it on my website. I've got it all there. And then what happened? The media made money after the financial crisis, after people lost their homes, their jobs, their pensions, their retirement savings. The media, they promoted books. Michael Lewis, the fraud idiot, who doesn't even understand how derivatives work. He's an idiot. They promoted this shill in the stupid movies. The media made money off your asses before, during, and after the collapse, and you lost it all. They're laughing at you, suckers. You don't understand how the media works. They're a criminal operation. They're the worst thing, the most dangerous aspect of human society. They're even worse than Wall Street. That's right. Wall Street does provide some value, does provide some good. The media provides no value, no good whatsoever. They're there completely to manipulate people on a higher level. It's the same propaganda as you get in communist nations. It's just that it's more sophisticated in America. You're getting the same bull. In fact, it's worse. The media is worse than in China. Why? Because the media in countries like China, it's there to manipulate people for the benefit of the government. In America, it's there to manipulate people primarily for the benefit of criminal corporate America, to defraud you. That's right. Think about it. Larry Kudlow is also a Catholic, by the way, if you don't know how that works. There's a lot of converts. They infiltrated the Catholic Church a long time ago. You might want to look that up. That's why, of course, the Catholic Church has so many pedophilia lawsuits, by the way. You can take a look at that, investigate that, which I've already done. Religion has nothing to do with things. People like to hide behind religion. What matters is your bloodline. Take a DNA test, and then we'll talk. You understand what I'm saying, folks?
Right? Now we're down 60%, and we have a whole new set of problems, certainly coming out of Russia and Ukraine. If you look at our strategy over a 5-year period, look at the last 5 years, I'm not quite sure what the numbers are, but they are well above our minimum hurdle rate of return, which is 15% at a compound annual rate.
5 years. Let's take a look again. There we go. 5 years. ARK Invest is up 54%. NASDAQ is up 88.75%. And remember, her ETF is managed, it's active. Right? Active ETFs are a scam, by the way. That's one of the problems with ETFs. Write it down. Active ETFs are a scam. They're garbage. You see, the ETF industry began, it's kind of like a bait and switch. They began as a way, they were all passive. And then they started getting into the active management business. Why? because they did kind of what Uber and all these other criminal companies run by parasites do, like Airbnb. They come in and they pretend, yeah, we're going to do this for you. It's going to be cheaper and better. And then what do? They do a bait and switch. Like I said, in the future, Airbnb is going to be, they're going to own their own hotels. Wait and see. Write it down, guaranteed. You'll see. In the future, Uber will be a taxi company, a real taxi company. They'll be held to regulations and so on and so forth. You'll see. Write it down. ETFs began with this whole bullshit. Oh, you can invest in the indexes for low cost, right? That was the pitch. And that was the attack against mutual funds, right? Well, someone tell me what the fundamental differences are now between actively managed ETFs and mutual funds. There's essentially nothing other than you can trade them daily. But in terms of the premise of active management and charging high fees, ETFs has stolen the business from mutual funds, and they've done it through deception. You see, you all understand. Many of you probably don't know this because you don't know the history of ETFs. You don't realize this. Are zombie companies an appropriate term for these parasite companies like Uber and Airbnb? I wouldn't say zombie. Zombie company is basically a company that's not really generating earnings, or the earnings that they're generating is just not, it's not justified from the money that's being pumped into them. And it's typically also related to some type of entity, typically the government, holding up that company. So that is more appropriate for China. Of course, China, that was a big issue about 5, 6, 7 years ago with their zombie companies. And those zombie companies were state entities. You know, since that time, they've tried to do something about that. So I wouldn't say they're zombie. I would call them predator companies. I would call them illegal predator companies that are breaking U.S. and international law. There's no doubt about it. I talked about Uber last time. So, and by the way, you'll notice Patrick Boyle. Please leave comments on his channel. Tell him he's a clown. Tell him what I said. Anytime this guy wants, I want to expose him live. Tell CoffeeZilla, put me on there. I want to grill him. I want to ask him some questions. Patrick Boyle is now talking about, this guy reads articles that are published by the mainstream media and then produces a video, and he reads it off of teleprompter. That's what he's doing. He wants to tell you, he's talking about China's debt bubble now. So, folks, this is why I don't really disclose anything. I talked a little bit about China before, but you know, my landmark China piece, which is on my site, you know, that's why it's not going. I'm not going to disclose all this stuff. He's just now talking about the Belt and Road Initiative. What an idiot! He doesn't know what the hell is going on. So ask yourself, you know, she's got an actively managed ETF, right? Actively managed, and she can't even come close to beating the NASDAQ, despite taking all the risk. So let's get back to this interview here.
And I think over 3 years, we're closer to 25%. So that helps put our performance into perspective. You know, this is a period, if you believe in innovation, and that innovation does solve problems.
Once again, she's fooling the typical naive person. Cathie, we've always had innovation. You fraudster. We've always had innovation. Why are you misleading people? Your fund has nothing to do with innovation. It's garbage. Penny stock trash companies. If you believe in innovation, Cathie, why don't you have leaders of innovation in your fund? And why aren't you able to pick leaders, future leaders, early leaders like Moderna, for instance, for example, right? See what she's trying to do, folks? She's basically catering to, she's conning people who are naive and don't have any idea about innovation, where it comes from, how it comes about. She's fooling a very naive type of person. Innovation has always been around. And there's nothing about innovation during this period. It's not any faster. It's nonsense. She is a fraud. She's a complete liar. And her whole premise is, if you believe in innovation, why? Because all these little millennial chumps out there, yeah, innovation, technology, it's great. Yeah. the dimwits. They don't see any risk or any detriment. They just look at, yeah. Fucking morons. This is why I don't like to talk to anybody. I'm sick and tired of coming across stupid people. And it's not because I think I'm smart. It's just that they're stupid. That's the problem. People are becoming more stupid every day because of the internet. That is a fact. Now, if you don't believe me, I will guarantee you, look into research. Academic research, I guarantee you, there's plenty of papers published on this. Guaranteed. Of course, you're not going to hear about them. Why? Well, it's pretty obvious why you're not going to hear being promoted, right? So she's trying to sell you, if you believe in innovation. Yeah, I believe, Cathie, innovation, high tech, it's the future, it's best. Yeah. You understand the con? This lady is an absolute fraud. She's a fraud. Cathie Wood, you're a fraud. That's what you are. You're lying. You're conning people. Just stop it.
A preview of that after the COVID crisis, when our strategies in the span of a month, many of the stocks were taken down 75% because either they were burning cash or they had low cash cushions. But guess what? Those were the genomics companies that were going to get us out of the coronavirus. And
oh, really? Did you hear that? Did you hear that, folks? So she's claiming that her boiler room shit-faced companies, genomics companies, Beam, CRISPR, that collapsed, those are the companies that got us out of the pandemic, the coronavirus pandemic. Did you hear this lie? Did I not just talk about Moderna? What the fuck's she talking about? Folks, you notice this is completely unchallenged by the media. This is fraud. And once again, take a look at the title of this stream. CNBC helped Cathie Wood con investors. I think you understand why. They do this all the time, folks. This is their modus operandi of the media. They build up these frauds, and after everybody realizes they got steamrolled, then they come and start criticizing them to make it look like the media's on your side. We're not even to the point yet where everyone realizes that she's a fraud and a disaster. Eventually, you'll guarantee. Just write it down. You'll see. You'll see. The media will only go after her once everyone has completely been steamrolled and they realize that she's a con artist. Yeah, she sold Coinbase just like Palantir. I mean, what happens to her deep dive research, disruptive innovation? I thought that she knew the future, right? I mean, these are companies that I would never buy. They're garbage. Bullshit.
Today, what do we have? We have all kinds of problems, the latest of which is Russia, Ukraine, and all of the commodities coming out of that area, especially hitting Europe. I think we're going to be looking at a lot of demand destruction and substitution into innovation. Electric vehicles as opposed to gas-powered vehicles would be the biggest one.
So you hear that, what she's saying? She's throwing in these little buzzwords. She's basically saying, in so many words, if you didn't catch that, oil prices are high because of the war, Russia, Ukraine. Of course, they were high before that. I don't know if you guys know that. Of course, they've gone higher. She's basically saying that because of high oil prices, we're going to get demand destruction. And that's going to cause a larger, more rapid shift from traditional automobiles into electric vehicles. Think about that. First of all, please someone tell me how high oil prices is going to benefit electric vehicles. Now, last time I checked, I didn't see any electric vehicles powered by solar panels. Okay? High fuel costs means high fuel costs for electric vehicles and for every other energy-powered vehicle. Because those electric vehicles, in fact, most of the electricity comes from natural gas, some from coal. You burn natural gas and coal to generate electrical power. You understand? The only way there's going to be a shift is not demand destruction, it's taxpayer fraud through more subsidies passed for the EV fake climate change scam, which is what they're working on now. That's what's going to happen. You see? I mean, why don't they have me talking to Cathie Wood? She'd become blue in the face and she'd run away. She can't talk with me. You see, this is what they do, folks. They did the same thing with Peter Schiff and all these other clowns. They're never challenged by a real pro. They let them spew their bullshit. And this is fraud.
We also have labor shortages all over the place. Again, automation. This is innovation at its best, and it's being turbocharged by this environment as the market is really hitting our stocks. So I think if you were to look at the next 5 years, and if you were to give us that 5-year investment time horizon, we are the closest you'll find to a venture capital fund in the public equity markets.
5 years. No, sorry, Cathie. You're a disaster. Your companies are a disaster. If you want 5 years, you better change your investment strategy. Get real analysts instead of puppets that you tell them what to say, and change your companies. Okay? So she claims that she's the closest to a venture capital fund in the public markets. First of all, I worked in venture capital. Does anybody know how venture capital works? Venture capital is do or die. It's win or lose. It's very risky. That's why it's only for accredited investors. Okay? Here's how a venture capital fund works. Let's just say they have 20 portfolio companies. Okay? They know from just the way things work and the way things are structured, the way the companies that they get, they're taking gambles. They know that on average, if things go well, 10 of the companies are going to fail. And if things go well, maybe 4 of the companies are going to do just kind of okay, just kind of break even. Then 4 of the companies might make a little money, not much. They're relying on 1 or 2 companies to be blockbusters. Okay? To make up for all the other losses. That's how it works. Doesn't always work that way. Sometimes they all blow up. So she's trying to make it sound like a great thing. It's not a great thing. You got people, many people, who have invested their retirement savings into her shit ETFs. And now she's coming out. In fact, she opened her big fat mouth. She may have caused a legal problem for herself, because take a look at the prospectus of her fund. She's now saying that it's close to a venture capital fund. That completely changes the risk profile. That could be a legal issue right there. Cathie Wood's a fraud and an idiot. And just remember, folks, the media pumped her up, keeps pumping her up, keeps letting her spew her disinformation to fool people, to suck them in to her wealth destruction funds. And let's not forget, all these fake investment gurus were pumping Cathie Wood, pumping her stocks. And many of them are still pumping her stocks. Think about that, folks. Think about that. These are the same scumbag fraudsters posting affiliate links for criminal companies that take your money, Robinhood and all these other trading apps. You understand the big picture of what's going on, folks? You understand? You've got a big hierarchy of predators, of scumbag fraudster predators. Think about that hierarchy. Think about the big picture. You've got this big circle jerk of the financial media. And within that circle jerk, you've got the Cathie Woods of the world. Very closely connected. And then you've got the Robin Hoods of the world, the trading app scams connected to her, the cryptocurrency connected to her, all the scams. And then you got YouTube and all the fake investment guru, fraudster, scumbag losers connected there. This is what's going on. Understand this picture. You might want to draw it out. Think about it very carefully. This is how it all works. Not just now. This is how it's always going to work. Nobody in the media is going after Cathie Wood. And people are being fooled to think that they are. Demonstrating just how stupid most people are. Folks, call these guys out. Email them. Post comments on their channel. Okay? Spread my videos. All these SOB pieces of garbage, all of them, they're all scumbag, scam artist pieces of trash that are causing people to lose their ass. I didn't hear about this upstart Affirm SoFi. I knew. I looked at it. I said, look, I told myself they're all going to be penny stocks. It's fucking garbage. I saw it on YouTube. So where did it come from? Are these Cathie Wood stocks? Oh, I know a couple of them. That SoFi was at Papatia, SPAC. I mean, folks, if it's an SPAC, I'm telling you right now, 95% chance it's going to go bankrupt or be bought out on the auction block if it's an SPAC. I explained this a long time ago. I warned my research subscribers about this. I said, look, you understand that why they're taking these things through this route? Because there's essentially there's no accountability, no real due diligence. They're flipping these things to the retail sheep. So why wouldn't they go the normal IPO route? Well, they're going to make up excuses. Oh, well, it's costly. Oh, is it costly? Oh, really? Is it more costly than giving Palapatia, the weasel parasite scumbag who belongs in prison, a 20% cut? I don't think so. See, when you go the IPO route, folks, and it's not perfect, and I mentioned this before, when you go the IPO route, there's a lot of due diligence that goes on by a variety of entities, from the underwriting group, the lead bankers, right, and the whole group. There's many, many checks and balances that go through, okay? And the majority of the shares in the IPO, guess where they're going? They're going to the customers of the underwriting investment banks, the investment banks that take it public. They're going to their best customers, their institutional customers. So there is somewhat of an incentive to make sure these people get somewhat of a good deal. In contrast to a company that can't make it to an IPO for one of many reasons, right? You all don't understand probably some of the barriers. You have to have certain types of business and financial dynamics, healthy, that is, in order to even get to the IPO process, or you're going to get rejected. Why? Because investment banks aren't going to underwrite complete dog shit and dump it to their institutional clients. Their clients are going to dump them then. So these companies can't even go IPO, the traditional IPO route, because they have many problems. Well, guess what? You got marketing scumbag losers like this Palapatia, who, by the way, was built up by the media. The media is responsible for these SPAC disasters. They promoted this piece of trash. Did they not? Yeah, they did. And he was always bowing down, trying to appeal to the Main Street people. Why? Because, oh, he's a good guy. Yeah, I believe in him. He's trying to help us. You fucking idiots. Oh, I mean, and I say you idiots. You know why? Because this is a repeating theme. It happens. It's repeating in history, and it's going to happen again. This is the way the scumbags operate. Come on. And if you didn't see his tactic, then you're naive. I wasn't paying attention to this guy, but I saw him a couple times. This guy's a fraud. He's just trying to appeal to the kids. And then I didn't even know he was trying to pump out SPACs. Then I saw, I was like, oh shit, now I know why he was kissing ass and trying to appeal to all the Main Street people. Because he wanted them to buy his SPAC crap and pump it up. You see, that's who the SPACs go to. They go to the retail suckers. And they're stuck with the bag empty. That's the deal. How come the media is not explaining this? How come the SEC is allowing this? You think I didn't contact the SEC a year ago on this? Of course I did.
And we're short NVIDIA, it's a loser. 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 And we're short NVIDIA, it's a loser.
Their earnings report is a complete game changer, at least for quite a while. Bottom line, NVIDIA now is going to enter the realm of Tesla, Apple, and all these other big,
And we're short NVIDIA, it's a loser. And we're short NVIDIA, it's a loser.
I mean, listen, NVIDIA can come down to 150, come down to $100. If you don't think it's possible, then you don't understand how the market works. I mean, listen, NVIDIA can come down to 150, come down to $100. If you don't think it's possible, then you don't understand how the market works.
And we're short NVIDIA, it's a loser.